It's been a couple of days since the release of Poppy Playtime Chapter 4's newest gameplay trailer, but even after uploading my analysis video for the trailer, which you should check out by the way, there are still a couple of questions that I'm sure a lot of fans have. Like, how is Kissy Missy still alive? Back in Chapter 3, we left off with the player and Poppy descending down an elevator that leads deeper into the factory, intending to bring the lift back up for Kissy Missy. We begin to hear Kissy Missy's screams from above, and after some panicked dialogue from Poppy, the chapter ends.
We need to be cautious. There's something... No! Kissy!
Now fast forward to present day, and yet we still see Kissy Missy in the trailer alive and well. But I don't think Kissy Missy has come back to us unscathed, and there's no real evidence to confirm what really happened. So let's start with the list of reasons on how this all happened. First off, let's just rule out the idea that we went back up to find her. The elevator hatch sealed shut right above us, and there's no indication that we had the ability or even the time to reverse course. Plus, the entire setup made it clear that we were being sent deeper into the factory, not backtracking to rescue her. So what about the idea that she somehow fended off the threat herself and made her way down to us? It's unlikely. If she fought back, that still wouldn't explain the blood straps seen in her recent clips. Those straps imply she was restrained, possibly transported, and the blood surrounding them suggests that she didn't escape unscathed. Something or someone brought her down. Now, here's a wild thought. Could Doy the Dough Man have been the one to lead us to her? It's plausible. With his wet, malleable body, Doy can slip through almost any space, making him a perfect scout or guide. But that still leaves us with a big question. How would Doy know about her location? Doy hasn't shown any direct connection to Kissy Missy or the situation she's in, and while his unique abilities might make him a helpful ally, there is no clear evidence suggesting he played a role in finding her, or helping her for that matter, and at best he could have stumbled upon her by chance, but even that feels like a stretch. The most logical explanation is that Kissy Missy was captured and brought down into the depths of the factory by someone or something else. The straps around her and the blood support this theory, suggesting she was subdued and transported for reasons unknown. But that raises a bigger question. Who did this to her? Let's break down the suspects. But before that, I just want to make this known. It's possible that we haven't even met the creature or force responsible for attacking and capturing Kissy Missy. The factory is filled with horrifying experiments and shadowy figures, so a new antagonist could easily be behind this. But if that's something you don't rock with, let's look at Harley Sawyer, a now digital consciousness trapped in the factory systems. As the overseer of Playtime Co., he has extensive control over the facility's operations. But would he have the physical capability to restrain and move Kissy Missy? Well, just from what was seen, Sawyer's power seems limited to technology, and if he had that much control, he could have stopped us lickety-split in Chapter 3. So while he is a major player, he likely isn't directly responsible for this. Plus, we already got a trailer showing Sawyer's activation, and just from what we've seen, it seems like the activation happened after the events of Chapter 3, but I could be wrong. Now, I've noticed that an old video of mine has been gaining a lot of traction recently. My Who Attacked Kissy Missy video is definitely worth checking out if you want to know more about this. But now let's lay our eyes on the prototype. As the overarching antagonist of the series, the prototype has been silently pulling the strings strings since chapter 1. We've only seen his mechanical arm so far, but his presence is felt everywhere. He has the capability to move between areas, as evidenced by his appearances in both the game station and Playcare. But why would the prototype spare Kissy Missy? If the prototype captured Kissy Missy, why wouldn't he just kill her outright? His motives are still somewhat unclear. In chapter 2, we saw him claim Mommy Longlegs' torso and head, likely to use her body for his own gain. He later killed Catnap in chapter 3, which initially seemed contradictory given his supposed goal of liberating the toys during the Hour of Joy. But what if Catnap's death was an act of liberation? Catnap's worship of the prototype suggests he is willingly submitted to being killed, seeing it as a form of salvation. If this theory holds, it means that the prototype's actions are less about destruction and more about manipulation, using other toys as pawns for his own agenda. With that in mind, it's possible that the prototype captured Kissy Missy not to harm her, but to repurpose her. The straps and blood could indicate that she was experimented on or prepared for a new role in his grand plan. There's a recurring theme of the prototype collecting body parts or whole toys to augment himself. After Mommy Longlegs' death, he took the remaining parts. Catnap's worship of a DIY prototype statue reinforces the idea that the prototype is constructing or enhancing himself using other experiments. If that's the case, Kissy Missy could have been taken as another piece for the prototype's collection. But this still leaves us with one more critical detail: the attack audio. When Kissy was attacked, the audio was chaotic and disoriented, as though she was frantically trying to find her balance while being overwhelmed.
There's something. What? What's she doing? This is. No! No! We're coming! Just hold on!
This doesn't sound like the prototype, who operates with precision and purpose. Instead, it suggests a swarm of smaller creatures or something more chaotic. This brings us to another possibility: the nightmare critters. While there is no direct evidence linking them to Kissy Missy's attack, their swarm-like nature fits the description of what we've heard. They could have subdued her as a group, delivering her to the prototype or another entity for reasons we have yet to uncover. The nightmare critters' role in the story is still shrouded in mystery, but if they're following the prototype's orders, they could easily act as his enforcers, carrying out his dirty work. The same was said for the smiling critters. Listen to this clip of Dog Day.
Catnap, the prototype is his god, and this is what he does to heretics. These little toys follow Catnap to avoid that very fate, and in return, they are fed.
So with that, let's move on to our next question. Can we trust Doy the Dough Man? Throughout the chapter 4 gameplay trailer, one subtle detail kept catching my attention: Doy the Dough Man in these little poo-poo pellets. We saw hints of him throughout, building up to his big reveal at the end of the trailer, and when he does finally show up, he doesn't attack us. Instead, he calls us pal and motions for us to follow him. It's a surprising moment considering the situation we're in, and the fact that most new characters introduced in Poppy Playtime don't exactly scream friendly. But this raises the question, can we really trust Doy? This is the first time we've actually seen Doy the Dough Man in action. He's been a character shrouded in mystery up until now, being hinted at only in screenshots and cryptic messages. But now he's here, standing right in front of us, and it's hard to decide whether we should trust him or not. And honestly, we have very little information to go off of. We do know one thing though. Before we start diving into whether or not he's trustworthy, we need to figure out when this interaction actually takes place in chapter 4. Let's start here. Is this moment with Doy happening right at the beginning of chapter 4? In the Yarnaby trailer, we see Yarnaby stalking us as we exit an elevator. Now, this elevator could very very well be the same one we descend on at the end of chapter 3, not to mention Poppy being right at our side. If that's the case, then the Doy interaction might be one of the very first things we experience in chapter 4. But if that's true, there's still a lot to unpack here. Why would Doy help us? Is he rebelling against the prototype? Well, that question quickly gets answered when looking at this audio snippet.
They call him the Doctor. He works with the prototype, commands everything down here. Hunting us, starving us.
Doy is acknowledging the fact that the prototype is trying to kill them. And remember, not all toys are aligned with the prototype. Poppy and Kissy Missy are perfect examples of this. Both of them have proven themselves to be allies who want to destroy the prototype and end his control over the factory. Kissy Missy may not have directly said anything to indicate this, but with her actions in chapter 2, it's safe to say she doesn't reflect the same self-serving, murderous traits as the prototype and someone like Sawyer. But could Doy share the same beliefs? If our association with Poppy and Kissy Missy is any indicator, it would make sense for Doy to side with us rather than being hostile. But even if Doy is genuinely trying to help, another question comes to mind. How does Doy even know about Kissy Missy or Poppy? We've ventured deep into the factory, far away from where we started. Remember, Poppy was trapped in her glass case for who knows how long, with zero access to the rest of the factory. Based on what we've seen, her ability to interact with other characters like Doy would have been extremely limited, at least until she was freed. Yet somehow, Poppy has extensive knowledge about the prototype, the Hour of Joy, and the countless lives lost because of it. How? Literally, how? She was locked away and should have only been able to hear what was happening around her. This feeds into the long-standing theory that Poppy may not be as innocent as she seems. Something I've also discussed in a previous video. Links in the description, by the way. And I'm calling it right now. Something's going to happen in this chapter, and I'm gonna have to make a video titled Poppy Playtime's Biggest Hypocrite. Look, I'm calling it now. So what does this have to do with Doy? Well, if we're leaning into the theory that Doy is aligned with Poppy and Kissy Missy, there must have been some point in time where Doy and Poppy at least acknowledged each other's existence. Could this have happened at the very start of chapter 4 when we descend into the factory? Here's where things get even more interesting. The Yarnaby trailer shows him stalking us as we exit the elevator, but there's no dialogue or context in that scene, just imagery. However, the way it's presented makes me believe that this is the first location we arrive at in chapter 4. In the gameplay trailer, we've seen Yarnaby chasing us through a similar location, suggesting that this might be one of our earliest encounters in the chapter. And here's a detail that someone in the comment section pointed out. There may actually be two different Yarnabys. In one clip, we see a larger Yarnaby toy that we're hiding from. In another clip, a smaller Yarnaby is chasing us. Could chapter 4 begin with us trying to escape Yarnaby right after running into him? It's possible, and if that's the case, Doy might show up after the Yarnaby chase, leading us to safety and eventually to Kissy Missy. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and click on this video right here.